Hi everyone, back to the More YouTube channel. It's Chris back with my rant stroke thought of the day. You thought I was having a break because it's international football. No Newcastle are playing. Well, I was planning to until I watched the England game and then until I saw some of the ridiculous post-match and pre-match analysis from some of the people in the media. One in particular who has rattled my cage and made me want to add to our ever-growing media Muppets section. Yes, it's all about Lee Carsley. So if you didn't know already, Lee Carsley started his interim England managerial career with a 2-0 victory against Republic of Ireland, and by and large England played a lot better than they did under old pizza boy Gareth Southgate, who kind of seemed to have got to a point where he got the most out of the players that he could get out of them. He was playing players in wrong positions. He wasn't utilising good players in terms of what they could do in their key positions. You know, Anthony Gordon being one in particular. You know, you all had to watch the Ireland game for all of about 10, 15 minutes to see that Gordon running in behind and having that pace, you know, was a massive weapon for England in that game. I know Ireland aren't, you know, the Ireland that used to be under Roy Keane, etc., etc. But they were much, much better, much improved. And Gordon looked much improved as well. Looked like he had a spring back in his step. He spoke before the game about how Southgate criminally underused him, didn't even communicate to him really, which is poor. But anyway, that's the past and this is the present. So Lee Carsley got a 2-0 victory. He called up young players. He called up under 21 players into his squad. You know, sadly, Tino didn't get a game. He might get a game through the week possibly. But, you know, he looks like he's trying to facilitate change and evolution, does Lee Carsley. And I think he's handled it quite well, but the media have been absolutely fucking horrendous with him, really. And you know, for me in particular, this video, not that he'll probably ever watch it, I don't know, maybe he does. Hello, Eddie, if you do watch, and Mad Dog, hopefully. But if Eddie Howe has any sense about him, he would run a fucking mile from this England job if it's offered to him, because this is exactly the reason why, and I'm going to get into this in a minute. So not only was Lee Carsley asked in the press conference why Mason Greenwood wasn't up for selection, which is the most ridiculous fucking question to put to a guy who's in interim charge, a guy who is stepping into the breach while the FA try and search for possibly the man that they want to search for, whether it be Eddie Howe, Potter, Pep, I don't know, you know, Jurgen Klopp, who fucking knows? But, you know, to put that question to the man is quite frankly fucking ridiculous. You know, as a journalist, you're an educated individual, you know why Mason Greenwood isn't selected for England or even up for selection for England. For what it's worth, I thought Lee Carsley was brilliant on that. I thought he handled it excellently. He just said that player is not up for selection, and I don't want to talk about that. And he moved on, so I thought it was really, really good. But the bit that's really pissed me off is this overreaction to the national anthem. Now, I understand, you know, being patriotic, and I understand all that stuff as well. But, you know, go back to when England had Fabio Capello was the manager, an Italian who spoke very, very little English, you know, which should be a prerequisite to communicate with your players. He didn't sing the national anthem and nobody batted a fucking eyelid. But such is the thirst and the desire for press to have column inches and people like me reacting to these very videos, which I know people go, I don't react, Chris. But, you know, I use this as a platform to get things off my chest. I find it cathartic, and I know some of you in the comments do as well. So that's what I'm going to do. So, you know, there was a massive big furore about, you know, Carsley not singing the national anthem. The Prime Minister got involved. Even he said it's, you know, it's a personal choice, all that kind of stuff. So cut to the game. The game has been won 2-0, pretty resounding, certainly in the first half by England. Took a foot off the gas really in the second half. But I've come across this piece in the Daily Mail. Now, I do like some journalists that write for the Daily Mail, but most of them are cretinous really, and just throw pure hyperbole and fucking ridiculous, you know, vocabulary out into the world just to stir up a hornet's nest really. And you know, Jonathan McAvoy, James McAvoy's a good actor, by the way. Jonathan McAvoy, get that one right, has wrote a piece this morning that's doing the rounds on social media about Lee Carsley. He said he made a fool of himself, talk about hyperbole, going to the wrong dugout. Now, pause out for a minute. This is because Lee Carsley had 40 caps for the Republic of Ireland, right? And he's playing on that. Loads of managers have gone to the wrong dugout, and it's been passed off and laughed off as charming. Ron Atkinson being one in particular that I remember. There was a famous Premier League gaff clip about that, and nobody said fuck all about that, Jonathan McAvoy. So get back in your box, you fucking arsehole. But then going back to the point where he didn't sing a national anthem and he's just attacking the man, you know, and he's denigrating him already before he's even done anything. And this is the whole point of my video. It's a longer and a bigger picture than just Lee Carsley. Why the fuck would you want to take the England job where you've got people like Jonathan McAvoy ready, knife sharpened to slit your throat before you've even got out of the fucking traps. It's one of the most poisonous chalices in world football. It really is. If you get it right and you win something, my God, you could walk on water. But then you got shit houses like this prick ready to get you the minute you fart in the fucking lift and it smells like curry from the night before. I mean, it's vile. They did it to Bobby Robson. They did it to Graham Taylor. They did it to Terry Venables. They didn't get a chance to do it to Keegan because he fucked off and threw a Keegan-style wobbly before that happened. They obviously did it to Steve McLaren, the Wally with the brolly. Whether McLaren was as bad of a coach as we all think he was, he seems to be enjoying himself in Jamaica now, but that's another story for another day. But, he was absolutely buried by the press. He was vilified by the press. Glenn Hoddle, they didn't attack Glenn Hoddle as much because he was probably most of their favourite players growing up. But they just absolutely annihilate England managers. I mean, what they did to Bobby was horrendous. Bobby was the closest to winning a major tournament way before Southgate came along. And, Southgate got a bit of a free ride off them for a long time because England was at such a low ebb under Roy Hodgson when Southgate came through. There's another manager they attacked. A brilliant career, glittering career, and they attacked Roy Hodgson, but then they also praised the same man 3 months later when he was the Palace manager. So you can't figure these fucking cretins out sometimes, really. But read that piece. I thought it was absolute bullshit. Lee Carsley's won the game. His team's played better than the guy before. He's used young players. Yes, the first half was the best performance. The second half tailed off a bit, but that's these international friendlies. The season's just started. A lot of these players are just finding their feet, really. But I thought it was an unnecessary piece by McAvoy in the Daily Mail. It just kind of sums up this horrendous, hyperbolic, hysterical, let's attack the England manager before he's even got his arse on the seat mentality. So my stark warning to Eddie Howe is, don't jump from the frying pan at the fire, Eddie, and take that job, because you got wankers like this queuing up to get you. Stay at Newcastle where you love me and you don't get attacked by these horrible bastards in the media. But let us know in the comments below what you think about that. Slight change in international rant, but it does got a little bit of Newcastle in it, so hopefully you enjoyed it. If you like this kind of thing, smash like, subscribe, help the channel grow. We'll catch you on what's going on Monday, and Newcastle are back next week, and we'll do it all again. Have a belter. Cheers.